Hi, welcome. This is just a little run through of Autodesk Process Analysis, just to show you that it could help streamline the assembly process and work out where some of the kinks are. So I've set one up for the ZA280 that I can remember from memory. And this is the process of manufacture. So start over at the start with the prisms and gaskets, assembles into the top castings, then retainer plates, LED assemblies, bottom cover assemblies, final assemblies, testing processes, additional items back, and then there's your finished assembly. So this is made up from just these few items over here. In fact, we're only using 3 of these. We're not putting a buffer in, but say for instance there was something palletized partway through the manufacturing process, you would stick a buffer in there. So we start off with sources. So here we have the prism and prism gaskets. So I'll just select that and then we'll have a look at the properties. Okay. So for the prism, I've set a quantity of 100, but we can also have this infinite. And I've also set the output rate at 100 a minute because these are just coming from stores. You're not actually manufacturing them. You're not waiting on each and every one. The same with the prism gasket. Again, we've just put a quantity of 100 in, but the output rate is 100 a minute again because it's coming from stores. You're not waiting on it to be manufactured. So the next part is a process, and it's the assembly of these 2 items. So here we have the input is operation 1 and 2, and we want 1 of each, and it's a merge, so those parts are coming together. We've set the process time of 5 seconds each with a variability of 2% in that 5 seconds, so that'll split up over the whole job. There's also a setup time. We'll get to that in a few things later. The utilization, just to make sure you're getting the best. Again, we'll see this working later. In between, you can also see the lines. We've got load times, unload times, and transport times. Transport times are set to 10 seconds as standard, so it's always worth swapping them around because you're not waiting 10 seconds for 1 prism and 1 gasket. Okay, so we've gone from prism and gasket, and we're including a top casting. Again, standard set, a quantity 200 and 100 a minute because these are coming from stores. And then we're going to assemble your prisms into the casting. So again, it's a merge. Operation 8 and 3. So this is 8, this is 3. But we can see here, because we've got 2 prisms per assembly, we want 2 of them. We've also got 1 minute to assemble the prism into the casting, but really that's way over the top, so we can change that to 10 seconds. Okay, so from the prism, prisms fitting into the top casting, we then want the prism retainer plate and shim. So we have the PTFE shim, again 100 and 100 coming from stores, same with the retaining plate. And then we have an assembly, so again it's a merge, but it's now 1 of each, as we can see, 1 of each part. And we put in 3 minutes for that one, so that's to assemble them, fix screws and torque down. Again, there's no real setup time in that one, but I will show you down here. We have the LED assembly. So again, we're coming from stores, so I've just set that to 100 of each. But in this process, I know you've got to also add some heat sink paste. So I've added in 15 seconds as a setup time on this process. That's 15 seconds to add in your heatsink paste. Process time to assemble the whole unit is 2 minutes. So once you've added your heatsink paste, then your fiddly operation of fitting the screws and nuts to hold the heatsink and the LED together. Going from there, fix the LED into the assembly. So again, just 1 minute for that. In fact, we could probably knock that down to 30 seconds. It doesn't take that long. So up at the top we have our cable and the cable gland assembly, and I've also added in a setup time of ½ minute because I've not put the crimps in there as something separate, so we've kind of added that into the setup time on there. But if we wanted, we could also add another source and just have crimps, you know, one of each coming into each one, and then 2 per cable. You know, we can just add this back up here, but just to save time, I've just put a ½ minute additional setup time in there to put the crimps on. We've also got a minute to assemble the cable with the gland. That again is probably way over the top, so we'll change that to 10 seconds. And then we then have the bottom cover assembly with the cable assembly, and we're adding those together. 2 minutes, probably a bit excessive. We'll go for 1 minute because we do have to torque that cable gland down. And then we're coming back in with the bottom cover with the LED assembled top casting. In we go again, merge. We've got 1 minute to assemble the bottom cover. That includes torquing down your 4 screws, and then from there we go to the mega process. So there's no actual merging or anything with this, there's no actions to it. We'd just give 30 seconds for a mega test, ½ minute. From there we then go to the pressure test. Again, no real action, we're just going to say 1.5 minutes. Your test is 1 minute plus ½ minute to set up. We could change that to 1 minute and change the setup to 0.5, it will still give the same result. And then from there we have the brass bung, again 100. We're going to fit that. We're going to say 40 seconds to fit that, but there's also a setup time of ½ minute just to wrap it in PTFE tape, and then we'll assemble. Then we use a box, 100, and we'll package that up. 1 minute to box it up, but I've also put 15 seconds in there to assemble the box. Then from there we go all the way up to a finished product. Now, depending on how you want to run this test, I've just set this for a single run, so we can get an idea of how long it's taking to do one. We could also change this to a batch of 50 and see how long it takes to do a batch of 50, but we'll just leave this at 1 for now. Okay, so now we've had a quick explanation of the process. We'll see it working down here. We can set it running, and as you see, you'll see these processes start to work, and as they're waiting on other processes to catch up, you'll see them all hanging. And yeah, so here we go. So again, this was waiting for 2, so it couldn't do anything. It can't do the process until it gets 2 coming in. The grey is the setup time, the green is the operation time. Okay, 1 going in. Now we are waiting for 3 minutes. 3 minutes to fit the prism. Retaining plate and gland, I think that's a bit excessive. So we'll stop that and we'll come back to let's say 45 seconds. We'll reset and we'll start that process all again. And we can also speed up the replay time. You can see it all working through the process until we get here. We've got 1. So we can see from start to finish we have 9 minutes and 25 seconds. This whole table took about 20 minutes to set up, and there are quite a few more tweaks we can put in, so some of this transportation time we've still got set as the standard 10 seconds. So taking all these times out, because most of these will be pretty much instantaneous, that will reduce your total time. But we can also see here that we have an issue. We're not utilising these processes as best we can. So it also allows you to see where you can improve your process. And that's pretty much process analysis in a nutshell. It's freeware, the 360 version is freeware, and I think it could help you out. I know this is something you was looking at while I was there, but I was jotting down, pen and paper with a stopwatch. So anyway, it's there, and maybe it'll help, maybe it won't, but